What is Balfour Declaration? The Balfour Declaration, which resulted in a significant upheaval in the lives of Palestinians, was issued on November 2, 1917. On November 2, 1917, Arthur James Balfour, the British Foreign Secretary, sent a letter to Lionel Walter Rothschild, a leader of the Anglo-Jewish community, a prominent Zionist and a friend of Chaim Weizmann, the leader of the international Zionist movement at that time, stating that His Majesty's government view would favor the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people, and will use their best endeavors to facilitate the achievement of this object, it being clearly understood that nothing shall be done which may prejudice the civil and religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities in Palestine, or the rights and political status enjoyed by Jews in any other country. The Balfour Declaration, Balfour's Promise, in Arabic, was a public pledge by Britain in 1917 declaring its aim to establish a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. It was made during World War I, 1914 to 1918, and was included in the terms of the British Mandate for Palestine after the dissolution of the Ottoman Empire. Upon the start of the mandate, the British began to facilitate the immigration of European Jews to Palestine. Between 1922 and 1935, the Jewish population rose from 9% to nearly 27% of the total population. The document was controversial for several reasons. In essence, the Balfour Declaration promised Jews a land where the natives made up more than 90% of the population. When it was released, Britain had already promised the Arabs independence from the Ottoman Empire in the 1915 Hussein-McMahon Correspondence. Increased Jewish immigration under the mandate created tensions and violence between the Palestinian Arabs and the European Jews. One of the first popular responses to British actions was the Nebi Musa revolt in 1920 that led to the killing of 4 Palestinian Arabs and 5 immigrant Jews. While Britain is generally held responsible for the Balfour Declaration, it is important to note that the statement would not have been made without prior approval from the other Allied powers during World War I. In a War Cabinet meeting in September 1917, British ministers decided that the views of President Wilson should be obtained before any declaration was made. Indeed, according to the Cabinet's minutes on October 4, the ministers recalled Arthur Balfour confirming that Wilson was extremely favorable to the movement. The Balfour Declaration is widely seen as the precursor to the 1948 Palestinian Nakba, when Zionist armed groups, who were trained by the British, forcibly expelled more than 750,000 Palestinians from their homeland. While it is difficult to imply that the developments in Palestine today can be traced back to the Balfour Declaration, there is no doubt that the British Mandate created the conditions for the Jewish minority to gain superiority in Palestine and build a state for themselves at the expense of the Palestinian Arabs. More importantly, the British allowed the Jews to establish self-governing institutions, such as the Jewish Agency, to prepare themselves for a state when it came to it, while the Palestinians were forbidden from doing so, paving the way for the 1948 ethnic cleansing of Palestine. The government of British Prime Minister David Lloyd George, elected in December 1916, made the decision to publicly support Zionism, a movement led in Britain by Chaim Weizmann, a Russian Jew who had settled in Manchester, England. The motives behind this decision were various. First, a genuine belief in the righteousness of the Zionist cause was held by Lloyd George and many other influential leaders. Additionally, Britain's leaders hoped that a formal declaration in favor of Zionism would help gain Jewish support for the Allies in neutral countries, in the United States, and especially in Russia, where the anti-Semitic Tsarist government had just been overthrown with the help of Russia's Jewish population. The influence of the Balfour Declaration on the course of post-war events was immediate. According to the mandate system created by the Treaty of Versailles of 1919, Britain was entrusted with the temporary administration of Palestine, with the understanding that it would work on behalf of both its Jewish and Arab inhabitants. Many Arabs in Palestine and elsewhere were outraged by their failure to receive the nationhood and self-government they had been led to expect in return for their participation in the war against Turkey. In the years after World War I, the Jewish population in Palestine increased dramatically, along with the instances of Jewish-Arab violence. The Balfour Declaration was endorsed by the principal Allied powers and was included in the British Mandate over Palestine, formally approved by the newly created League of Nations on July 24, 1922. The Balfour Declaration spurred the third wave of Aliyah, 1919 to 1923, from Poland and Russia. 40,000 Jews arrived in flight from anti-Semitism and devastating post-war pogroms in Eastern Europe. The most horrific wave of pogroms, which occurred in the Ukraine, drove emigrants to Zion. Immigrants of the Fourth Aliyah wave between 1924 to 1929 of 80,000, mostly from Poland and the USSR, were also escaping oppression. The Fifth Wave 1932 to 1936 of over 175,000 immigrants arrived, mostly from Germany as a result of the avalanche of Jew hatred in Germany with the rise of Nazism. In November 1917, a very small minority of Jewry lived in Palestine. Today about one-half of world Jewry resides in Israel. As a result, the British promise was given to establish a national homeland for the Jews in Palestine. In accordance with this promise, David Ben-Gurion, the executive head of the World Zionist Organization, announced the establishment of the State of Israel on May 14, 1948, the same day that Britain announced the end of its mandate over Palestine.